Welcome to the Don Pod, the supporters podcast. Here's your hosts, Sam and Nate.
3, 2, 1, yeah!
The stars aligned and Essendon miss a golden chance to go second on the late AFL ladder, and instead will likely finish the round in seventh. Essendon 10-7-67, defeated by the Melbourne Demons 13-6-84. On a cold, miserable night at the MCG. Welcome back to the Don Pod. The roller coaster ride of the Essendon Football Club continues. I am joined by Nathan. Good morning.
Morning, Sam. We're on the way down, screaming this week.
Yes,
Whereas last week we're going up to the top, and
We
look at the view from up here.
We were above the clouds last week, and,
Oh.
and now we're plummeting towards Earth, wondering if we're going to come back up. Hoping we come back up.
Just so disappointing. Like, we had such a chance last night against a depleted Melbourne, without Gorn and Petrarca and others.
After results went our way.
Yeah, the Carlton had lost,
earlier,
Freo had
Freo.
lost. We had just a chance. And look, we've talked about this, and I guess that's maybe false economy that we think we should be winning these games. But anyway, we had an opportunity to get to second. I think it was second, would have been.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
And we just fucked
We
it
were
up.
just a bit shit, weren't we?
Oh, we were a bit more than a bit.
I'll go through some numbers and then we can
Yep.
crack in. I don't have a lot to say about this one, to be completely honest with you. I think I've just summed it up pretty well with we were a bit shit. Goal scorers, Martin 4, Langford and Dersma 2, Jones and Durham 1 each. Leading possessions were Ridley 29, Shield 28 and Martin 26. That's a typo from me. I don't even know where to start. So
We'll start at the beginning. The first quarter.
can we just go through the handful of positives?
Yep.
Maybe less than a handful.
True.
I really liked Benny Mackay's game.
Mm.
17 of his 21 disposals were intercept possessions. 7 of 7 of his marks were intercept marks, and he went at 100% efficiency with his disposals. So he became a rock, really, in that second half particularly. Took a couple of pack marks and really spared us a few blushes there.
Turned into his brother for a second.
Yeah. But still, you could kick.
Well, the marking, his brother's a very good mark.
Yes. Dylan Shield, 5 clearances to go with his 28 touches. I thought he was playing with a different footy compared to his teammates. He was playing with the dry ball. He was very clean. Really liked his game. Caldwell 12 tackles, and that's about
Big
it.
Caldwell things. Yeah.
From my list of good players, to be honest with you.
Well, look, in the first quarter.
Martin.
Yeah,
Harsh. Sorry.
Might mention 26 and 4 goals or whatever it was.
Decent game.
Yep, decent game. But like his first, really.
It's very similar.
Let's just quickly discuss the first quarter. We looked like the better team by a fair bit. Like, things were just rolling well. We were winning the ruck, the clearances. We were scoring fairly. We probably didn't put that dominance on the scoreboard. I felt like we should have been, instead of 1 point up, should have been 3 goals, if not 4 goals up at that first quarter. But whatever it was, again, what I saw that worried me was the fact that we had a lot of forward play, didn't score, and then teams, as they do, just roll down the other end and score, and score goals too. It feels like it's more punishing when they.
Yep.
And then the second quarter arrived, and Melbourne made those changes. They swapped their ruckman for Van Rooyen.
Van Rooyen.
And that just seemed to screw with us. A few things that we couldn't deal with, and then the wet came. And
didn't it?
Now I want you to tell a story, because you and I have had a little chat, and the big issue we have is our skill level when it's wet. Like, something happens at the Essendon Football Club. I don't know if they ever train with a wet footy, or they don't go out in the rain and train. They just train in the shed when it rains. No, it's wet, boys. We're not going out there today. Maybe they're like electricians. They don't like to work. It was wet and electricity.
Makes sense. It makes sense.
I know.
They don't go together.
Cool. Yeah. So you had a little story. You were at the game.
I was at the game, which I want to say, unfortunately, quarter time, I was,
Did you have a good raincoat?
yeah, but my knees were exposed, so my pants got quite wet. But anyway, I was like M2, so down the Melbourne, sort of just off the Melbourne Shear Squad end, and just standing and observing at quarter time. And I looked up and I saw whoever Melbourne sub was. They were running around and doing the ground balls and picking it up and giving it back to the trainer. And, it's like, oh, yeah, whatever. And my eyes just wandered up and I just locked on to Nick Hind down the other end of the ground. And I saw him do one thing. And that was the ball's in the air, he tried to mark it and he dropped it and it hit him in the face, which I don't know if I could pick a scene to sum up. I mean, one, our skill level, but two, Nick Hind. It was beautiful.
I think it's hilarious that like the training, you're on the wing, just training, just having a few balls thrown at you, and you miss it. Like shit.
Yep.
I need to put more glue on my hands because
I get embarrassed if I do that when no one's watching down at the park. Like, be better.
But that is, I think, one of the big issues we probably could talk about for that game was just a lack of polish and a lack of skill in the wet. And I'm sure Essendon people are sitting there and going, it's pretty consistent with us.
Yeah. The thing is, it pissed down rain. I don't know how much you saw of it on telly.
If you see it on telly, you know it's wet. Yeah.
In the lead up to the game, it was absolutely driving down with rain. It was horrible. Then as they sort of broke and went to their positions, it stopped. It was quite magical. It literally just stopped for the centre bounce. And, the ground gets dry pretty quickly, and I think we were okay. Once it started raining again in that second quarter, and again, it was heavy rain, like it was good rain. We went to shit and we never recovered after that. We never made it back into the game really until we made that run late. But that was just a bit of respectability on the scoreboard at that point, let's be honest.
Could be Melbourne shutting up shop going, oh, well, we've got this wrapped up.
Yeah, too. There's a few things I want to say about that too, actually. But what frustrates me is that Melbourne, we had 45 more disposals than Melbourne because they were getting the ball forward without disposals. They weren't necessarily kicking or handballing forward. They were just willing it forward, willing it forward, which is what you do in the wet. You just get it forward.
Get it forward. Get pressure on that in that forward 50 and anything can happen.
Our solution to this was just to bomb it long to Stephen May. Like,
oh, yeah.
May and Lever aren't the same guys that they were. You got to respect that they're very good players, but they haven't been the same players that they were 3 or 4 years ago.
No.
But we made them look like it again. And
and then they haven't been those players for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was more talented, I'd make like an advert. Are you out of form? Do you want an easy win and be played back into form? Play the Essendon Football Club, because we just give them everything they want. You used this phrase earlier in the year that don't get beaten by what you know.
Yeah.
And we just did it again.
And exactly that and that's the point with the Stephen May. Like, how many times he just sat behind the contest by himself, and I'm like, well, what happens? What are they doing in the coaching box looking up? Now, it's wet weather footy. So we want them to, and this is maybe this is where we're wrong as just stupid supporters. We want them to get the ball forward. Whereas other coaches saying, no, really take your time, move it sideways with handball and all that sort of stuff. Or are the coaches so stupid that they're like, no, it's wet, so we need to have someone on May, because what players just do in the wet is get the ball and just get it forward.
Yeet it forward.
Yeah, and if May's all by himself, then May's just, this is just juicy. I'll just take marks all day. This would be nice.
He had so much space, and it was just like they didn't have that going inside their forward line.
No, they had one-on-ones.
Didn't do a lot of bombing, I'll admit, but it was one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And bringing the ball to ground where guys like Cozzy Pickett, very dangerous player on the ground, absolute flog. Him and Jake Kelly had words in the first quarter. I don't know if you saw any of that on TV.
No, I didn't see that. Too.
Oh my God, they were scragging on the ground and having a big argument, and then they sort of separated, and Cozzy walked away and could see Kelly still, pointing and going at him, and then I just watched Cozzy flip him off and run away.
You wouldn't be able to catch him. Well, there was a couple of moments too for me. It was the pace of Melbourne. With Pickett and Windsor, the goal he kicked, when he just when they just ran away from us, and I was like, one of my thoughts on that was Heppel, and and I thought, well, he doesn't seem to have really enjoyed his week off because I thought he was playing better. He was playing better footy before he was managed, and
Well,
came back worse.
Just while we're on Heppel, if I can jump in. Into the first quarter, the ball's down our end. I look over and it says they've just swapped the 1 minute sign to the 30 second sign.
Yep.
I was like, right, okay, just don't concede. That's all I ask in these situations. Usually, just don't concede.
Yep.
And the ball comes down and it ends up in Melbourne's forward line. Dyson Heppel gets the ball. And again, this was right in front of me, so I had a pretty good view of it.
Yep.
He had him, the boundary line behind him, probably two Melbourne players in front of him, and a handball over the top that would have gone to an Essendon player who would have fumbled it and it would have gone out of bounds for a throw-in. Right, that's what would have happened.
Yep.
But instead, Dyson thought he was Jake Stringer.
Oh, Jake Stringer.
Well, no, he did his best Jake Stringer impression because it failed miserably and tried to take on three of them and got caught holding the ball. And you just go, and that zapped all the energy out of us.
Mm.
And you just go, fuck's sake, Dyson. Like, first option is usually best. Just bang it forward. You're on the boundary line. It's probably going to go out. Probably going to go out.
I thought the same thing at that moment. Like, I was like, he just had to get rid of that ball. He didn't need to take players on. He had to handball it over. And I couldn't see that other Essendon player you're describing. But he looked like it was kind of there because he kind of went for the handball and then backed out of it.
Yeah, first option.
Yeah, first option. Where the football. It's very, very simple. Now, we can quickly talk about Jake Stringer. Can somebody tell him that fucking trying to strong arm every goddamn player that comes at you, everyone is not working.
Not working.
Like, when it doesn't work the third time, just say, I'll put that trick away for today, and maybe I'll just kick it forward or handball it forward to somebody else.
Honestly, it hasn't worked for a long time. So it's
not
even
he's
like
doing it.
He did
Everyone
it last
knows
week.
he does it.
Yeah. I honestly wanted him dropped in the immediate aftermath of the game. His disposals, he just belted it on the boot, and he was one of the main offenders when it came to just booting it to Stephen May.
Yes. Yeah.
No thought whatsoever in his disposals. He had 20 touches at 55% efficiency, and I just shit. Sorry, Jake. You apparently Nathan Buckley said, I'd rather have a player give 7 out of 10 every week.
Yeah.
Jake gives us 9 out of 10 every month, or maybe 6 weeks.
Once a month, yeah.
But the rest of it we get like 2s and 3s.
Yeah.
And I know it's worse when you lose. We didn't say this last week, but
it's hidden when you lose.
Frustrating.
Oh, when you win. Sorry, it's hidden when you win. That sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you, and it's the sort of thing that when it's not going well, it stands out more.
And apparently he wants 3 years and 800 grand a season, brother. No. And if you're going to die on that hill, you can go somewhere else. I really don't care.
Well, it's an interesting situation. I mean,
I like the man, but he frustrates the shit out of me.
I love what he brings, but he just doesn't bring it enough. And I still don't, like, in a game like last night, somebody needs to pull him aside and say, Jake, you're a leader at the club. You need to do the things that the club needs. Yeah. And that's not trying to take the game on all the time. That a bit like Draper frustrates me. Like, I love what you get from Draper. I love that, crashes, bashes. He's a heart and soul sort of player, but sometimes you need to realize that smalls around you are the players
you've got midfielders, bro.
Yeah. They're the guys that can kick on both feet and hit targets.
And they can kick on their dominant foot. They
can kick on dominant foot and hit targets. He can't do that.
Yeah.
But he needs to bring them into the game. And I think that's not what he does sometimes. He tries to take the whole game on himself. I'll rip it out of the ruck and kick it forward or smash it 30 metres forward. And that's great sometimes.
That's exactly right. Yep.
Yeah. But you've also, if you're dominating in the ruck, you need to then bring your midfielders into the game, like Merritts and Caldwell's and those guys and Durham's around you, and get the ball into them so they can line up passes, because they're the beautiful guys kicking to leading forwards, not just belt it forward, the half forwards, and then chasing up to a wet ball, which 50-50. You're right there on a 50-50 now, and we're losing a lot of those because we can't pick it up because it's wet and we don't know how to do that. So I felt like in the first quarter he had this ascendancy that, he was, a lot of that,
very good first quarter. He was unreal.
A lot of that was working, and then it didn't work, but he sort of still kept at it. And I was like, he's marking around the ground, he's getting better, all these other things. he's improving, but I just want someone like Simon Madden at training to come down to him and say, "Hey, Jake, look, I was probably the best ruckman that's ever played the game. Here's a couple of tips, mate.
Just a few pointers.
Just a few
Oh,
pointers."
surely they've had conversations.
I'm sure Simon comes down and says,
Surely.
"Jake, do you want to just
Sam, not Jake.
Sam, sorry, not Jake. We were still angry at
We're in
him.
the past, yep.
Yeah. Sam, do you want to just watch some of my footage from like the 80s and just see how I did it, mate?
Not even that. It's just
But seriously, you watch
someone.
Simon Madden.
Yeah, I
Simon
know,
Madden is
but
listed as the greatest ruckman ever.
it was 1980s. It's a different game now. You can't compare eras.
But you can watch the wet football.
What you
Here's a prime
said-
example of what game like last night is like 80s footy. Like you watch it, the ground is in better nick. It's not muddy as hell, but it's still that real honest footy. It's you got to go back to the basics. It just frustrates me. Like
He just needs. We talked about this the GWS game where Bruce had like 9 clearances, and we kind of said, I don't know if you want your ruckman having that much football and that many clearances. You've got elite midfielders in GWS case.
Yep.
We're kind of the same. You've got Merritt, who's a fantastic ball user, went at 44% last night, not his best game ever.
Yeah.
You've got Durham, who can burst away from a pack and hit a leading target. You've got Caldwell. What really, really pissed me off, and this is moving on from Draper, sorry.
Yeah, that's right. I'm finished.
As the game was sort of, we were the tiniest bit of a sniff in that last quarter. We'd kick 4 quickly. If we kicked another one quickly from the centre bounce, we were a real chance to cause some upset there. And I look up, Jai Caldwell's at centre half forward and Jake Stringer's in the middle. Yeah. And I just go, sorry, Caldwell has been our best midfielder just about for the last month,
if not longer. Yeah,
and you are kicking him out and chucking him at half forward for a bloke who had a dirty game, and I just don't get it. You're taking quality out of that midfield to put a guy in who might 1 in 10 clearances do something amazing. Like
I've said this for a while that I think Jake Stringer's time is up in the midfield, and it's the only reason he should be in there is if I understand, like if Caldwell's a bit exhausted or something and needs a rest, that would be acceptable. And they're things that we don't know.
Yeah, but you slap him at
Stringer needs to be just a permanent forward and be used as that from now on. We need to we miss Parrish in a game like last night because I think a guy like him is great in the wet because he knows how to play that. He gets the ball, he gets it out.
Well, that's
although it wouldn't have happened because Draper wouldn't have been hitting it near him. So he would have. Maybe he would have said to Drapes, "I'm here. Hit it to me."
Yeah. I could harp on about these players all night. Guelphy was shocking. And I really thought a game like that was set up for someone like him. Just he had 11 touches, and I was honestly surprised he had 2.
Yeah.
Really.
And I think that's compounded by the fact that you watch a lot of the Melbourne smalls have a real influence in the game.
Effective.
Yeah. And you go, well, where are our smalls at the moment?
And it's not even disposals. Like, I've got a separate point here, which I'll get to, but whenever we played on or anything like that, Cosy Pickett was fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
He was there. He was harassing. He's chasing. He's quick.
Yeah.
Bloody hell, he's quick. It's like, where was that for us?
Yeah. Well, who's our quick players? Who's our quick players?
They've got space. They've got time. They always had players on the outside. And then you just go, for fuck's sake.
Who are our fast players, Sam? Like who
Durham.
would you who this is the problem I have with our team in a game like that. What stands out to me is that how slow our backline looks. Like, Heppel, Redmond's not slow, but he's not quick. We've taken Hind out of there, which I don't have a problem with because of his ball use, so that's kind of acceptable. But he did at least have speed to keep up with play. And then there's McGrath, who he runs around like a headless chook a bit sometimes. Like, I don't know what he's doing. He's someone who is, I don't want to be harsh, but for a number 1 pick, he's not getting better. Like, he's in the middle part of his career. He's probably he's at that big contract stage where he should be getting the
He's had the big contract.
Yeah,
he's had 6 years.
Yeah, and I don't know what he would be getting paid, but I feel like it's too much.
You're all getting paid too.
Well, he's a back pocketer. Like, how much do you pay? Unless he's winning Brownlow's, like, one of our ex back pocketers. Wanganeen.
Thank you.
Yep. then who was the best back? Like he was unbelievable compared to McGrath. Like Wanganeen was so good. Like he won a Brownlow. Anyway,
We live in the past, man.
yeah, I know. I'm living in the past. It's just I know it was really hard to watch the game last night, and I don't think we can talk much about it because our normal hour-long one, I think, we'll struggle for this week.
It's going to go downhill quickly. I'll read through some numbers, and then I want to go back to my point about Pickett and that situation. So,
Yep.
the plus 45 disposals. I'll just spat everywhere. I'm glad that's not in person. Plus 15 kicks, plus 30 handballs. That tells you a story right there. -7 contested, +7 inside 50. So once again, we had more ball inside 50. We were 39%, I think, efficiency inside our forward 50. So that's gone to shit again after a pretty significant improvement last week.
Mm-hmm.
+16 hitouts, which ended up -12 clearances.
That's amazing.
And this is a Melbourne who don't have Gawn, don't have Petrarca. And honestly, Oliver's a bit shit at the moment.
He was a bit shit.
He
He
looks so unfit.
He does.
Really struggled.
And they had Trent Rivers in there.
Who was dominating. Shocking. So the point I was going to make earlier about Posey.
Yep.
The amount of times we got the ball, so whether it was a free kick or a mark, just to stop play at half back and we'd handball and immediately be under pressure. And it's just like, this is understanding the conditions, but also understand if it was perfectly dry and every time you do that, you're under pressure, stop fucking doing it. It's not working. Just kick long, particularly in the wet. Get 50 meters up the wing. I don't care.
Yep.
Just get it down there and rely on your setup down the ground to force stoppages or whatever.
Yep.
Worst case scenario, you kick it straight to them. It's 50 meters that way.
Yep. Now, do you reckon that's a coaching or a player's problem?
Both. I think what, and this is a complete guess from...
Well, that's all we ever do, Sam.
I know, but looking at it, it looks like we've got one game style and fair enough, Brad Scott wants to get that right. Okay.
Yep.
So
I get that.
I can look at that and go, well, part of me goes, okay, I can understand that you want to perfect that before you start thinking about other ways of playing.
Yep.
But sorry, when second position on the ladder is on the line, you've got to have another game style. You've got to have a change that you can make when it's wet. And we didn't do that.
Well, it is a winter sport.
Yes, correct. And, if we're going to play final, we're going to play it at the MCG if it's in Melbourne.
Well,
so we're going to be exposed to these elements.
Yeah.
I went in with a couple of people who live close to me, the guys that sit behind me at the G. We were chatting on the way in, very positive and very buoyant.
Well, I've loved to know the conversation on the way home.
Well, that's my point. I personally I was really happy with our wings, with Jones, Cox and Dersma, and how having Jones and Cox gives you that extra tall forward, that extra tall defender.
Yep.
It works really well. And I ended up after the game going, probably wasn't the right team on the night. I still really like that setup, but in the wet, you get exposed when you have that much height.
Yeah, good point.
I don't know who you take out. I don't know what the solution is there, but...
Well, is that why Peter Wright came out in the
possibly
sub?
Well, it had to be a tall. It was always going to be a tall. I didn't think it'd be Pete.
Which was a good decision at the time.
It was third quarter. We pulled that trigger early.
Which was great because we'd complained about that last week, saying that we need to make those decisions earlier. And that was the right call. Well, right call. Yeah.
Good one. I assumed it would be Jones or Caddy, to be honest. I
agree.
Sure, the logic of Pete, but whatever. I mean, it was the right decision.
Taken a mark for the game.
Time. He was pretty piss poor. So, all right, fair enough. I would like to see some adaptability to conditions. And
100%.
That's partially on the coach, but a lot of it's on the players at that point. Like,
I think that's more on the coach and the coaching team.
Getting the ball and handball into a guy who's under immediate pressure. You've got to be better than that. You've got to just sum up the situation and go.
Isn't that something they would talk about at quarter time, half time? Say, okay, boys, drop that. What we're doing there, like we just got to get the ball forward.
Maybe, but still, you don't give the ball to someone who's under pressure, do you?
No, you don't. And that is a player thing, but that can happen in a game. That's fine. But if it keeps happening, then it becomes a coaching thing, doesn't it? Like,
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
and that's what I say earlier about we want to perfect this one game style,
yeah,
which again I can understand, but you still got to adapt. If we were 10th and
Hmm.
not really in contention for finals, fine. Keep doing what you're doing to try and learn and improve
exactly.
the side. Sure.
It's a good point.
Second position on the ladder's up for grabs. You've got to have plan B, C, D, E, wet,
But
dry.
even a good team, even teams that win premierships, they have different styles, like to go slow and go fast. Like you look at Collingwood, they know they can score very quickly when they need
Well,
to.
that's a fantastic segue.
Boom, done. I'm
You
out.
are on fire.
Mm.
We kicked the last 4 goals of the game. 5, perhaps.
Yep, four,
And
I think it was. Yep.
I think it was 4 in about 5 minutes. We kicked them, and I just 2 things. This is very polar opposite sides of the argument from myself here.
Yep, I love it.
One, it's amazing what happens when you go long and direct. It's
No,
amazing what happens when you have to go forward.
Yep.
I've been okay with the sideways kicking because I can see what they're trying to do, but it happened too much last night. And we were just shit house with it. All of a sudden, we started kicking the ball long, putting the pressure on Melbourne's defense, and we kicked 4 goals very quickly.
Yep.
There's 2 things. One, I'd like to be able to flick that switch at different times during the game. Just a little signal to go, right, we've controlled the ball for 2 minutes.
Maybe
we
they
feel
need one
pretty
of those
fresh.
little-
Let's go.
Maybe they need one of those little cards that they bring out. Okay, try. Everyone try now.
Yeah,
Try.
Just pull the trigger.
Yep.
Take that kick. Take that option. And if you concede, well, then, okay, let's roll back into a more natural style of play that we're okay with playing. The second thing that frustrated me, which is sort of negates that, was we still went slow at points when we'd kicked 4 goals and we needed to kick another one and we're on half back and we're chipping it to the wing.
Yep.
It's like, that's not the kick. You've got to go quickly and in the guts. I don't care if Melbourne kick a goal at that point. We got nothing to lose.
You lose by 4 goals or you win. Like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah.
And there was one other thing that really shit me. We had the ball on the far side, and I don't know who it was, did a little chip kick to Stringer, who got spoiled out of play.
Yep.
I was like, if I'm a Melbourne player or supporter, I'm like, even if Jake Stringer takes that mark, I'm like, all right. He was 50 out on the boundary line. How does that kick not go to 15 out straight in front? Like, come on. That's just basic footy brain. And the crowd went nuts because Stringer was chopped allegedly.
Yeah.
But it was the wrong kick.
Yeah.
It just wasn't the option ever.
The problem I have with a lot of that too is that I just feel like I think we're also skill-wise, but I think we're also lacking a lot of smart football players, like the guys that make those long to the square or in the right spot or go stand on made themselves decisions, guys that take it on themselves. And we've talked about that for a long time about the leadership at the club, like guys that
on-field leaders.
Yeah, on-field leadership.
Well, I think we've got it in the midfield and we've got it in defence. I think we're lacking a little bit of leadership in the forward line.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because, if you look through him, Wright doesn't seem like a leader.
Pete's a pretty quiet guy. Langer's maybe.
Yeah.
Stringer maybe something.
Definitely not Guelphy.
Yeah, Caddy. I will say it was a good game for Caddy, really. He was playing on May at certain times. So in terms of a learning, nearly took mark of the century.
That's a bit cool, but it was going to be a good one. It was
a very good fly in the wet. Yeah.
And the century is a big...
Yeah, I know, but got to take something.
But I still love the way he's playing. I love the way he cracks in.
You know what'll happen next week, don't you?
He'll get dropped?
He's getting dropped for Goldstein. Yep.
Oh, I'm really concerned about that too. I'm like, they're going to now drop for Goldstein. I bet you this will be the thing.
And it's under the roof at Marvel. We can get away with having the taller team.
Yep.
And
that's
what
what
happened yet, and I'm pissed off.
Yes. That's what stands out to me is that we can only play under dry, perfect conditions. But that's why I always think when we're playing at Marvel, whoever we're playing, I think we've got more of a shot. Because the conditions will suit us, we'll be able to kick and, and play the game of footy we want. Whereas I don't want to be that team. I don't want to be the team.
No, you have to win finals at the MCG. If you
in
want
the
to
wet
be
sometimes,
successful,
at night, in cold, shitty conditions.
Yes. Oh my God, it was cold and shitty.
I don't know. I was pretty warm inside, tucked up on my little homemade bed in the shed.
I've had this cough for like 3 weeks, as you know. So I'm a bit funny about being in the cold now. I want to get rid of it. I want to shake it and get better. So second quarter, when it started pissing down and going, like, nah, fuck this. I went down and watched it in the bar, which was quite a unique experience being at the football, but watching it on telly.
Mm.
There's like a 0.2 of a second delay between the tally and the crowd. So you'd hear the crowd and immediately see something on the TV. It was quite strange.
And you never know where to look. You're like,
There was
oh,
some
up there, I'm
yobos.
out there, I'm over there.
There were some absolute yobos in that bar, but I was dry. So jokes on everyone else. Just it was honestly, and I think we could have stopped it after 2 minutes. We were just a bit shit in every department. They played better than us in every department. They were better in defense. They had more space and more time in the guts, and they had a much more effective and efficient forward line. I want to comment on the umpiring, and I'm not blaming or even suggesting that they were a factor in this, but the interpretation of holding the ball has changed again. There were 3 or 4 that we should have given away a free kick, and I was sitting there going, all right.
Yeah.
Just fucking sort it out, AFL. And did you watch Geelong Collingwood Friday night?
Yeah. Yep.
Not 15, not 15, not 15,
Oh.
not 15. And we had one kick that just about covered the centre circle.
Yeah.
And it got paid. I'm like, and Melbourne fans are going nuts. Fair enough. Yep.
Yeah.
They're going nuts too.
Well, even in the Collingwood Geelong game, the commentators were like, well, that wasn't 15. Well, that wasn't 15. You know, like they were like, well, how can you call that one?
But this rule of the week shit has to go.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of things frustrate me. And like, I hate watching vision of, you know, a replay of something that's clearly a goal or a point, and we have to watch it for like 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, it's clear. Why are we still watching this?
Move on.
Yeah.
I really think they need to get all the clubs in a room at the end of the season and just say, no, we're nuffies. We don't know what we're doing. But just sort out this holding the ball rule and just say outright, this is what we're looking for. This is what we're going to pay. This is what we're not going to pay. We're all on the same page. Don't fuck with it midway through the season.
Yep.
I like the harsher interpretation of it. I really, really do.
Yeah.
But it comes and goes.
But Jake Stringer should have gone several times and he did a few times.
He did a few,
because as soon as you take the option to fend and they tackle you and you don't dispute, that's holding the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's the simple thing. If you pick the ball up and get tackled without prior, that's fine.
But they're now paying that. If you have an arm free,
yeah. But they've got to have prior opportunity to get rid of the ball and not being pinned with one arm, dropping it down to your boot. That's not your prior, because that's how you hurt yourself, or that's how you can.
Yeah, it's just so frustrating. I do like that they're blowing the whistle quicker now for stoppages.
Same, agree. Yep.
That's quite logical.
Because I think that stops the flinging, the spinning, the tackles.
Yep. But just sort it out. Just consistency. That's all we want. And I know it's hard because they're human and et cetera, et cetera. But when the rules change week to week,
we will accept we accept them getting it wrong sometime. Of course, you go, oh, well, you got that a little wrong. But it's when you watch a few games, like I watched a few games so far this weekend, and I've seen different interpretations of things that go, well, that's not what I just watched in the other game.
That's frustrating as hell. And again, I think we benefited from that more last night. But
yeah, I agree.
It's still so frustrating to watch it and go, what are we doing? It's so annoying.
No,
shall we give some votes?
Yep.
Yeah. You go first.
You go first.
Oh, no, you.
All right, I will.
All right.
It's cute, wasn't it? That was
cute. No, you hang up.
No, you do it. Stop it.
All right, come on. Hurry up.
I went with Martin, Shield, and Ridley. 3-2-1.
Martin, Shield, Ridley. Yep, very good. Listener hasn't gotten back to me yet. So Murray McGorlick was the only person, that tipped Melbourne. He said Melbourne by 5. That was it. Everyone else was Essendon. Hope it gets you.
Gosh.
Well, he's right, wasn't he? He hasn't responded yet. So once he responds, I'll chuck him into my spreadsheet. Yeah. I gave 3 to Martin, 2 to Shield, and I gave 1 to Benny Mackay.
Yeah, fair
enough. I thought Ridley had a lot of ball, but didn't do a lot with it. I think Mackay's possessions were more,
I disagree with that. I thought Ridley was pretty handy in a lot of stages, but that's fair enough.
17 intercept possessions for me was quite good. For quarter time, that was Draper in there, but just Bro took 1 more mark for the rest of the game. So never mind.
Quarter time, he had
9 touches and 4 marks.
He was a light in that first quarter, but that second quarter, I was like, what happened to him? Like
Mhm.
now you're getting beaten by a younger, crappier player. Like
I will say it was a great game for Max Gawn to miss. I think they benefited from not having
didn't
that
they?
super
Yeah.
tall ruckman in the red. It's
And
fucking typical.
we forecast this. We went, oh, so whoever they'll play will dominate now.
Mhm. I don't think Draper got dominated, but
No,
it certainly didn't
you're
hurt
right.
them at all.
But I would have what I found interesting when their ruck came out and it was I can't think of his name, the guy that they hadn't played much, their ruckman that started in the first quarter. You
Sure.
know, yep. Then I would have thought, well, this is a great opportunity for Cox now to be the backup ruckman because you add that mobility that he can bring instead of Peter Wright, so Peter Wright can stay forward. But I guess with the really wet conditions, Peter Wright became pretty useless because he didn't take a mark for the game. So,
And you really do need a bigger body in those conditions, I reckon.
bit
thicker.
But they weren't big bodies either of their Melbourne ruckmans.
But they were bigger than Cox, though.
Yeah, but Cox has got length on them.
Hey.
Well,
He's a lengthy Cox.
That sounded wrong, didn't it, when you think about it? All right, let's move on from that one.
Yep. Next week, well, VFL, first of all. VFL, we play at 1:00 today against Casey. We had a win last week, actually, against...
There's some good numbers again last week. That
Melbourne?
Roberts, was it?
I would have been a huge advocate of an Archie swap this week.
Yeah,
Archie Roberts for Archie Perkins. And I'm sorry, Perko, we can't keep carrying this form.
He wasn't much better again last night, I didn't think.
Bit of confidence back. But Archie Roberts, 32 touches and a goal last week.
That missed set shot of Archie's last night, really burns me. Like he's in front, not far out, and just sprays it to the left. I'm like, for fuck's sake, drill that.
Yep. Frustrating. So no VFL wrap. Next week, we play the Adelaide Crows Friday night at Marvel. Hallelujah, praise Jubers back at Marvel. Under the roof where it's dry and perfect. Adelaide themselves are in a bit of form.
They won against St Kilda, yeah.
I just tell you, if I'm an impartial supporter, so if I don't go for Adelaide, St Kilda, Melbourne or Essendon, football was pretty shit last night. I don't think our game was particularly great for the neutral.
I don't think our game was worth
Adelaide,
watching.
Sorry, this app that I use has now all of a sudden started putting ads on, which game's the game, but it's annoying. Adelaide 10-11-71, beating St Kilda 5-9-39.
5-9.
Yuck. Yeah, Rossi. Good vibes, mate. Yeah.
How does St Kilda go from winning against Sydney last week,
to kicking
beating Sydney, to kicking 5 goals the week after that?
The sort of shit we used to do.
Oh, that'd be up there with the most frustrated sort of supporters going around, wouldn't they? Because they've had a couple of good years, and then now they're back into the shitty shits.
The shitty shits.
And then you look at their list and you go, there's not much there. And then what is it? One of the King brothers, he got injured. He's out.
He's out for the year, Max. Yep.
He seems to be always injured. You're like, is this ever going to work?
It's hard. So coming off the bye, Adelaide have beaten GWS, were competitive against Brisbane in Brisbane, and then beaten St Kilda. So they've got a bit of form on.
Yeah.
I think it's a different set of circumstances to when we played them last time. I would still expect us to go out and win.
I'd still play one ruckman because they haven't been playing their source, have they? Jacobs hasn't been playing. They've been playing another game.
About 10 years ago. It's O'Brien.
Yeah, O'Brien. They look the same. They're both
We're living in the past, man.
Big red-headed units that run around, sloppy running looking dudes.
So a tip from you?
Oh, fuck. I don't. Fucking Jesus.
Just say Essendon by 12 and be done with it.
Yeah, Essendon by 12.
I'll say Essendon by 13. Just be a dick.
Do you make changes?
I would like to say no. I think...
Do you go more run?
Laverde, I would say, comes back in. I don't know who for.
Heppel.
I'd be quite... But it's not going to be. I agree with you, but it's not going to be.
But okay, so Adelaide have more tall forwards than Melbourne, obviously. So they're going to come in with Phil Throp or whatever he's
Phil Thorpe.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously,
lots of tongue in that name.
Tex and the Texan, and the other number 32, I think Rashudo's old number. He's a good big unit, plays the forward too. You know who I'm talking about. Thanks.
I'm really good at picking your players when it's Essendon, but not so good when it's other teams.
Anyway,
Fogarty,
that's the one. He's a good unit. So they come in a little bit tall, but then they'll obviously have that mix of Rochelle, and who's the other one? He got injured, didn't he? Their other good.
No, one of them suspended.
Oh, well, there you go.
Was it Rochelle or the other guy?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, the
Well,
other
we're on today.
Yeah, Sunday morning.
Rankin.
I thought, did he get? I thought he got injured.
No,
Did he
he's
get
4 weeks
reported?
suspension.
Oh, really? What did he do? I must have missed that.
He absolutely took out someone off the ball.
Fair enough. Well, but anyway, I think that my
Memory.
point there back being about Laverde is that you might play the extra tall because of their forward line.
Yes, but do you seriously see us taking out Dyson Heppel?
Well, no, but maybe it's someone else and Tyson stays in. I don't know. It's probably freaking Caddy.
No, it'll be Goldstein for Caddy, and that'll do me in. That'll
I
be
just
it.
don't want to play a second ruckman for the rest of the year. I
No.
don't see the point. I mean, Draper, in all the knocks we gave him, he was
fine.
He wasn't the biggest problem.
No,
sadly.
no, correct. And look, take last night out. Pete's been perfectly serviceable as the second ruck.
Well, he'll be fine marking the ball in the dry conditions.
Will he?
Might make two. He might make two, but you've got to play that tall forward line. Like I think that's got to be our weapon. I don't like. Is it Archie Roberts from the VFL who's had great form? Does he come and play as a half forward? You know, I don't think we go small. Anyway,
see, we were talking last night about our need for a small forward, and
we don't have one. Yes,
well, I look at Carlton and go, what they did with Zach Williams. Someone identified that, hey, he might actually work as a forward, and I believe he got injured.
Yeah, he did his hamstring, I reckon.
I started watching it, but then obviously had to go to our game, so missed the end of it. But, he was an out-and-out halfback, and I don't think a lot of people would have ever seen him playing a forward, and he did it quite well. So that's what we need to be doing. We need to be looking within our current list and going, well, who can be a dangerous, damaging small forward? And Archie Roberts is at 184 centimetres. And I just wonder if you can plonk him in the forward line and go, he's got a bit of goal sense. He seems to kick goals in the VFL. Just try something because we're lacking a bit of speed and pizzazz on the ground in that.
Here's one I'll throw at you, which is a bit left field. McGrath.
Don't hate it.
Like, why can't he? Like, I've always, over the last few weeks, I've been thinking Perkins, I would like to see Perkins go back and play as a defender and just... I think there's something about the way he plays that shits me. Is that maybe you need to be a defender for a while and suck that sort of little bit of shit up, like that life of a defender. And maybe in doing that, you could send McGrath forward, who's got great craft, got great,
he's got a bit of a burst of speed.
Yeah, he can get the ball, he can tackle. Like he could be a great forward pressurer.
After using the Zach Williams example, I don't hate it. Like,
yeah, you shouldn't because it's throwing it right back at you.
The same thing, yeah. Dear.
Yeah. But it won't happen, so it doesn't matter.
No.
I'll play the same team and we'll get it done by what we know. So
it'll be Goldstein for fucking...
Tex Walker will kick 5. That's what will happen this week.
God, we're negative. We were so positive last week.
Well, it's the roller coaster of the Essendon Football Club. It's the whole. It's the up and down. Like we can't trust ourselves. We still can't trust us. Like we talked about after the Geelong game. Was that an anomaly?
Anomaly.
Anomaly. So, well, the Collingwood proved it wasn't, but then the Melbourne goes, well, maybe it is because we should have. I don't care what you say. We should have beaten Melbourne without Gordon and Petrarca. That's the best you're going to get them.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair.
You're not going to come up against them without players like that often, and they're two All-Australian, multiple All-Australian players. Like they're not just spud players. They're
premiership players, Norm Smith medalists. Yep.
Yeah.
And Track would have absolutely eaten up those conditions, wouldn't he?
He would have. He would have been one touch, scooped it up, boom on the boot. He would have kicked 4.
See ya, boys. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
all right, I'm gonna wrap it there. I think we've said enough. It was shit.
We were shit.
We were shit. It was wet. It was cold. I had 4 pairs of socks on.
What's that? It's a bit the shit. That.
Well, sometimes they be good. Sometimes they be shit.
Yeah, that's the one.
Steer clear of doing that accent again. That wasn't your best, but sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit, has summed up the Essendon Football Club for the better part of 10 years.
Maybe that should be our little emoji thing.
All right, thanks for tuning in. If you've made it this far, you're a real trooper after a game like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, appreciate your company. And as always, go Dons.
Go Bombers.